Good day. Welcome back to another episode of Just for the Record, the 2022 St. Croix Senatorial Candidate one-on-one interview. I am Rick Grant, a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Epsilon Iota Sigma Chapter. This program is being brought to you by Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority, and Alawi TV. Up next in the hot seat, we have Leonardo Carrion Sr. Good day, Mr. Carrion. How are you?
I am doing fine, thank you, Mr. Grant. And thank you for inviting me to be a part of your forum.
Good. Excellent. So, you are seeking a seat in the St. Croix District of the 35th Legislature of the Virgin Islands. For those that might not know, who is Leonardo Carrion Sr.?
Leonardo Carrion Sr. is a son of this soil. I was born in 1961 to parents that migrated here from the neighboring islands of Vieques and Culebra. I am one of 10 kids that my mom had, 5 of those with my dad. I'm a public school educated individual. I attended the Charles H. Emmanuel School, which is located right across the Superior Court. I also attended the Elena L. Christian Junior High School, which was then located next to the Charles Howard Memorial Hospital. I am also a proud graduate of the class of 1981 of St. Croix Central High. I am married to my high school sweetheart. We've been married for the last 36 years. Out of that marriage, I have 3 kids. I had 3 kids prior to that, a total of 7. Out of those 7, I was blessed with 9 grandchildren, 2 of whom are girls. Proud and love them. Served the people of the Virgin Islands in law enforcement for 29 years. In different departments, I began my career in public service as a correction officer with the Bureau of Corrections. I was blessed with being able to work in all the facilities that the Bureau of Corrections have, including St. Thomas. I also worked for the VI Police Department as the Director of Executive Security for the then Governor Honorable Kenneth Emap. And my last years in law enforcement were done with the Department of Justice, where I held every position within the Special Investigations Division. My last position was director of that unit, which I enjoyed and loved very much. I was born on this island. I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think the time has come for a change to happen so that the people of the Virgin Islands get what we've earned and what we all deserve.
Okay. So, what is one thing that the St. Croix community would be surprised to know about you?
Surprised, everybody that knows me, I split the people in St. Croix that know me in 2 groups. There's that group that know me to be the serious law enforcement officer that did everything by the book, respected everyone, but did what I had to do. And there's a criminal element that gonna look at me and say, he's a SOB. Both titles I carry with honor because I did what I was supposed to do, and I'm proud of it. I walk the streets of St. Croix with pride.
Okay. You mentioned having, from what I can gather, a very large family. So tell us, you might, if elected, fit in very well to the Senate because you have to work with 11 other individuals. So tell us how your preparation in your family will prepare you for collaborating with others.
I am the 3rd child of my father. I am the 8th child of the total 10 children that my mother had. So I grew up in a legislative setting, 10 different minds. We clashed at times, we had our fights, but at the end of the day, when we had one mission in mind, we all stood together for the betterment of the family. I also think that I was prepared with my job for this position in that I dealt with different individuals, different situations on a daily basis. The positions that I held also put me in situations where I had to make split decisions at the spur of the moment. And I can say with pride that I did the best I could, and I think I did a damn good job. Excuse my expression.
No problem. So describe the 3 most important qualities you believe every leader should have.
Honesty, integrity, and respect. I believe that every individual that is chosen to represent should be respectful. You should have integrity. There should not be any skeletons in your closet. You can't represent me if you're not the best person to represent me. Integrity. We all need that. That's the one thing that in my profession was the most important aspect. I know of individuals that did the same profession that I did, that because of the integrity had issues with judges in courts, with attorneys that they encountered on a daily basis. So I think those are the 3 most important things that any individual that seeks to be a representative of the people should have.
Okay. So let's get down to it now. If you were given the opportunity to serve as chair of any of the committees in the legislature, which would it be and why?
There is a number of committees in the legislature that I would love to chair, but my passion and my heart has always been law enforcement. I do believe that we have reached a point in our history where law enforcement is not respected the way it should. And I think a lot of that comes from, and this is just Leonardo Carrion Sr.'s position, poor leadership. We have a consent decree that's been hovering over the law enforcement community for a number of years. And it's been hampering what we grew up knowing as law enforcement. I encounter police officers and law enforcement officers from different departments in the government. And the cry is always the same, you know, this thing over in them not being able to do what they were sworn to uphold to do as law enforcement officers. And I think that's what has created the problems that we see today with lawlessness in the streets. For the first time in my life, I was born and raised here, as I said before, 60 years. I had never seen a vehicle driving our streets without a license plate. And today that's common practice. So I think much is to be done with law enforcement to make sure that the people at the Virgin Islands, particularly St. Croix, feel safe when they take their walks with their kids, when they go out for dinner, when they go shopping.
Okay, well, keep it in line with crime and justice. What practical suggestions do you have for police recruitment in the territory?
Police recruitment has been an issue for years in the territory. As we all know, the majority of our young men are incarcerated, which is sad. So we're forced in law enforcement, and no disrespect to the women, because I've worked with a lot of women that are outstanding law enforcement officers. But I believe that there should be a balance. In law enforcement, the positions that I held, there is a positive note in women interviewing women and man interviewing man. And when you're constantly running into situations where the majority of our perpetrators of crimes are men, and you have all these women trying to address the issue, I think one of the things we're known for in the Virgin Islands as men is that we tend to not think that women should be in those positions to tell us where we should go and what we should do, which I don't agree with. I grew up with a stern mother. And when my mother spoke, 9 boys, all of us stood up like we were in the army. So I think we need to go back to the days where we try to entice and encourage our young kids, our young boys, to stay out of trouble and show them, be examples to them. And that's one of the things that I have tried to do all my life. I've always tried to be a positive example to the men, the young boys that I come in contact with. And I tell them, I say, you know, you see the drug dealer, they're wearing jewelry, that's why I wear my jewelry. Because I don't want it to be said that only the drug dealer could wear jewelry and look good. I work hard for what I have. And that's something that I try to push forward with the youths in the community to make sure that they understand that hard work does pay. I am honored and blessed to be in the position that I am today. My education ended in high school, but a lot of people believe that I went further than that because of the positions I've held and the people that I have been honored to become involved with.
Okay, sounds good. So what is your opinion now? We're going to shift gears a bit on the current state of healthcare in the territory, and what specifically would you do to address the current state?
I am appalled. No society should be in the situation that we are presently. There is no healthcare system. We have a hospital that is, in my mind, my opinion, it's a horrible sight to even drive by and see. We have our so-called leaders, and it's something that I don't understand. It's something that I question myself with all the time. That should be priority in any society, healthcare. But there doesn't seem to be any urgency in trying to make sure that that is the first thing that we address. If elected and when elected, I'm not going to say if, when elected, I'm hoping come January of 2023 to be one of your representatives. I'm going to make that a priority. Yes, we have issues with law enforcement. Yes, we have issues with education system. Yes, we have a number of other issues. But I think the priority should be health. I don't understand why everybody that is supposed to be our representatives have not sat down and said, look, we need to address this once and for all and get it done.
So would you say there's not a sense of urgency when it comes to healthcare?
There's none.
Okay. And then how
6 years after a storm, we're still trying to put together a modular hospital. I watch a program on TV that's called, let me see if I remember the name. It's one of these programs where these guys just build homes for people in 7 days.
Okay.
Knock down the old house, put it back together in 7 days, and here it is 6 years later with the billions of dollars. So the issue here is not funding, which is something that we've heard in the past to be one of the biggest problems we've had. We don't have a problem with money, as said by the governor. Why has it taken us 6 years to put together a modular hospital?
So how would you create a sense of urgency when it comes to healthcare?
Whoever is spearheading that committee, I will definitely reach out to them on day one and tell them we need to sit with all the players that have anything to do with making sure that this modular hospital is put up and running immediately, and have those meetings and not only discuss it, but make sure that the public is aware that this is happening. Because one of the issues I think we have with our representatives is that we as a community elect these individuals, but it seems like we know nothing about what's going on. You're supposed to be my voice. You're supposed to be my representative. Why aren't you coming back and telling me what issues we have with why this modular hospital has not been put together? So that's going to be a priority for me. I don't care about bills. You're going to hear through the campaign trail the number of bills that some of these senators have put through. The question to ask is, have these bills made it any better for us? Do we have a better healthcare system? Do we have a better educational system? Do we have a better law enforcement system? And I'm quite sure that the answer overwhelmingly going to be no. We need to make sure that we hold people accountable and let's get things done. Stop playing games with the people.
Okay. Speaking of accountability, and I know you mentioned earlier that we don't have a problem when it comes to having the funding, right? Would you support legislative approval of all federal grant spending plans to the territory, and why or why not?
My personal opinion, I don't think there's a plan. We continue to hear federal monies being sent back when there's needs. Look at our roads, look at our school system, look at our healthcare system. We have issues, but we continue to hear the lack of proper documentation, the lack of proper tracking of these federal funds, monies going back. We just recently had the Inspector General come here on a visit and was appalled at the number of money that just sitting in accounts. Meanwhile, the roads need to fix, the schools need to be built, the hospital need building. So I honestly don't think that there is a plan. I think, and that's another issue. We have to sit down and stop talking about what needs to be done and how we going to address it. Let's put it to work and let's get it done. People are tired of hearing the same song and dance for the last 10, 15 years. It's time now to, we're at a particular important point in our history as Virgin Islanders. We had never seen the influx of federal funds to these territories like we've seen now. But yet, we have islands in the Caribbean that depend solely on their own. That make we look like the stepchild. And we're on American territory. That should not be the case. We need to start looking at individuals when we're selecting them to represent us that are passionate and really care about the well-being of us and our future generations.
Okay, so then what does good governance mean to you and what does it look like and how have you contributed to this ideal in the territory?
Good governance is all of us getting together with one goal in mind: improving the lives and the future of every individual that calls these islands home, that come here to work or to vacation. One of the things I have done throughout my life, and I'm very proud of what I have done. It's something that me and my wife discuss almost on a weekly basis. We came from very humble backgrounds, and we weren't those individuals that were blessed with parents that gave them land and homes to begin with. We both started with nothing, and today we own 5 properties. And I don't mean this in no bragging way. I just hope that people see it and take it as an encouragement to see that I came from nothing. I had nothing. My parents, like I said, my mom had 10 kids. We barely had enough money to buy uniforms every school year. But I have done so much with the little bit of knowledge that the good Lord has blessed me with, and along with our awesome wife. And today we own 5 properties. I am retired and I'm doing well. There's no need for nothing for me. And again, I'm not bragging. This is not brag. I hope to encourage somebody out there that think that you have to start with a title or some big bag of money to be able to make it in life. I have made it, and I come from nothing. But I am proud of what I have done, and I think that's part of what good governance is, making sure that all of us are included when it comes to bettering the lives of every Virgin Islander.
Okay, so just now you spoke about, you kind of alluded to your legacy. What would past colleagues of yours say about Mr. Carrion Sr.?
Thank you for that question. And I could only assume, because if I could read people's mind, maybe I would have been something else and not trying to seek a seat. I most make the mistake, I use the word run. But I've had an outstanding career in law enforcement, and I don't think you're going to encounter anybody that had the privilege of working with me and knowing who I am, because when you first encounter Carrion, you have a way of having your own idea of who Carrion is and what he's about. There's also those out there, like I said, I split the population of the islands in 2 groups. There are those out there that don't like Carrion, because Carrion stands for what is right. And with all respect, I'm going to do what I have to do to ensure that that is done. But as far as my colleagues, I am proud to say that I don't think you're going to encounter anybody out there that's going to tell you, I don't think he's prepared for what he's jumping into now. Because I've always shown respect for people. I've always been, I know the line. I know when fun ends and when serious works comes in. I've been able to distinguish that in my profession. I've encountered people that know me well, that for the first time encounter me in my profession and say, man, you're a totally different guy when it comes to your job. And I am proud of that. I know where to draw the line and know when to stop the joking and get serious about what we need to do to make sure that things happen.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. And you're looking and watching Just for the Record.
Hi, I'm Sheree Del Sol. I am here at Miss Naturalista. I am here on the Big Island of St. Croix. Not the first time, but my first time here at Miss Naturalista. They have been in business for 10 years. They sell everything, and I can't wait to see what they have.
Hi, welcome to Miss Naturalista.
Even though I personally don't have locks and I'm a loose natural, I know sometimes people with locks can feel overlooked in the hustle and bustle that is the natural hair community. So the fact that this store has products for people with locks is beautiful to me. Wow, it's an entire DIY section. A hot head. I tell you, this place has everything. I love using my hot head for my pre-poo. If you don't know what a pre-poo is, it's basically just throwing conditioner on your hair before you shampoo or do a co-wash. Just gets it nice and warm with this. It deeply penetrates into your hair strands. It gives you the conditioning that you need. I love it. I love using this for that, and I highly recommend it. And it's right here at Miss Naturalista.
Great news! St. Thomas now has its own Galvaloon factory. VI Galvaloon Factory, located at Four Winds Plaza behind the dry cleaners. The only Galvaloon provider in St. Thomas with DPNR required 24-gauge material. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. VI Galvaloon Factory.
And we're back to Just for the Record. Mr. Carrion Sr., so I have a personal philosophy, and it might seem kind of extreme, but I'll share it with you. And it's, if you can't manage your money, you can't manage the government's money. If we were to look into your finances, what would that say about your management style of your own money and then the ability to manage the government's money?
Thank you for that question. I smile because for the first time anybody has asked me such a question. My finances will clearly show that I could take a penny and split it in four. I work for the government at the Virgin Islands, and we all know that most of the people in the government at the Virgin Islands don't make no heap of money. But me and my wife together have been able to purchase 4 properties. If you call the 4 mortgage holders, you would see that we have never faltered on our payments. We're not the kind of individual that wants to buy a new car because the neighbor next door has a new car. I'm comfortable with driving a used car and utilizing that money for more important things. I have 7 kids, and out of the 7 children, I have 3 college graduates. All 7 of my children have, in addition to a high school diploma, some sort of vocational training. Some of them even have 2. I have one of my sons is one of the program designers for Lockheed Martin. We helped him through school. I don't have any credit card debt. I was happy when the banks started to put these credit card logos on the savings accounts that you could now utilize as credit cards, because I always had a problem when it came to renting hotel rooms and cars, because we never had a credit card. So as far as my finances, I'm quite sure people are going to be amazed and going to want to figure out how he did it. But I can proudly sit here and tell you that it was hard work. So if I could manage $50,000 salary and own 4 properties, 5 cars, put 7 children through school, I don't see why you wouldn't allow me to manage the finances of the people of the Virgin Islands.
Okay. Let's move on to economic development and small business development. So what support do you feel is lacking for small businesses in the territory, and what measures can you implement to address this matter?
I don't think that the government is doing enough to support small businesses. We have to realize particularly we live in a special environment. In the past, we've had governments that depended on these major industries to be the sole providers of our funding. And specifically the Hovenza, the Hess Oil Refinery on the island of St. Croix. But on 2 occasions now, that refinery closed down, and we still floating. What needs to happen is, and I think we've lost the focus on what small businesses have, the importance of small businesses have had in our community. When the big checks from Hess won't come in, we were still surviving. We were still helping out St. Thomas when the cruise ship industry closed down because of the pandemic. We need to invest more in small businesses. Because of this pandemic, we've also seen an influx of many of our citizens turning entrepreneurs, small businesses, food vendors, souvenirs, decorating for functions, setting up wedding settings for people to have their weddings at. We need to invest more in our small businesses. From a small kid, I've always wondered why we have Megan's Bay in St. Thomas, but we have a Cremas Park sitting idle, sleeping in St. Croix. I lived in St. Thomas, and I'm not knocking the St. Thomians, we're all one, but Megan's Bay and not over Cremas Park. But yet, we've invested in Megan's Bay. We see the revenues coming from it, and I am grateful for that. Why can't we do the same thing for Cremas Park? I visit Puerto Rico often, and there's a place, one of my best place to go to is a place named Piñones. It's a street that runs along the coast of I think it's the northeastern part of Puerto Rico. And from the time you enter that area, it's nothing but vendors selling different local foods. You could spend a day in that area just sampling the different dishes, and they're all local. We have the Altona Lagoon property that belongs to the government of the Virgin Islands. Perfect location, not to overwhelm with 150 vendors. But what about 5 vendors? What about encouraging 5 of these people that are selling food in different locations to make it a permanent location in Lagoon where you could leave 12 o'clock from work after a hard, tough morning and sit down and enjoy the seaplane taking off, see the sailboats coming in while you enjoy one of the best meals you could ever had. So the potential is here. It's that we're lacking the vision.
So with that said then, what are 2 untapped economic development opportunities specifically for St. Croix that you see, and what will be your plan to develop those areas?
We need, like I said before, we need to encourage more small business participation. We need to be able to offer them financial support as well as technical support to ensure that our small business development continues to grow. The other thing that I see as a big potential for St. Croix in particular that has not been tapped, this government is land rich. This government owns a lot of land on St. Croix that is untouched. But we continue to see these government agencies renting facilities from other people. We continue to see our own people having to rent from outsiders when we could have programs. We often hear the government announcing these housing developments for low to medium income. Every time I hear them commercials, it irks my blood because I don't understand how anybody in government could tell you that they're building for low to mid-income families when the price of the property is $250,000. A mortgage on $250,000 is $1,500. Who in the government of the Virgin Islands could afford that? Every single Virgin Islander dream is to own a piece of this. We know that every Virgin Islander also wants to be able to rent a piece of the property so that it could help with their finances. We have a lack of housing availability whenever we have the influx of outside workers. Let's encourage our own to build the homes, to build the little apartments on the side, that then we could have an influx of housing in our market like no other.
Okay, so let's shift gears another place to agriculture. Now, how can we diversify agriculture in the Virgin Islands to include hydroponics?
I'm glad to get that question because just recently I was able to visit the hydroponics pilot program that they have at the Old Bethlehem sugarcane plantation property. And it was disheartening to me to hear from the two individuals that are responsible for that project, to hear from them that when they initially started that project, they invited every sitting senator, 15 senators of the territory, and only 2 from St. Thomas came, none from St. Croix. We live on an island where every time we go through a catastrophic event, we have the danger of not being fed, because 90% of our food comes on a ship. When I was growing up here, the cattle industry was booming. There was cattle all over this island. There was dairy farms all over this island. We had our own fresh milk. Most of the people on the island when I was growing up bought meat from the local butcher. We don't see that anymore. We've lost our sight on agriculture. But I do believe that there's going to come a time when everybody going to sit down in shock and realize we made a big mistake. Agriculture is the key to making sure that we're fed. We should not have to depend on a ship coming in here to bring food for our people. We live in one of the richest soils, and this is something I have heard from people from Antigua, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Kitts. We have one of the most fertile lands in the Caribbean. Things that can't grow no other place in the Caribbean grow here on St. Croix. We just grow grapes here, and this is in California. We grow pineapples, and this is not Hawaii. So we need to make sure that we put more emphasis on not just the talk. My slogan in this campaign is no more talk, action. I don't want to hear the talk. Bring the plan. If it's a feasible plan, let's put it to work. Let's feed our people, and let's feed the community.
Okay, Mr. Carrion. So, what can the people of St. Croix expect from your first 30 days, then 90 days, and then 180 days?
30 days, anger and frustration. Because I'm going into an arena that's unknown to me, but I can already suspect the bureaucracy and all the game playing that has been taking place, why a lot of our issues have not been addressed. 60 days, you said?
Yes.
No more talk, action. 90 days, you're going to hear Carrion and you're going to see Carrion every place that he needs to be, to make sure that you, the people of the Virgin Islands, finally have a voice.
Okay.
I had another one, 120
180
days.
days.
180 days?
Yes.
Progress. The new modular hospital finally open, or in the process of being open, because you're seeing work. Schools starting to be demolished so that it could start being rebuilt. The politics need to stop at some point. The money is there. Let's utilize it before Uncle Sam decide you ain't using it, let me take it someplace else.
Okay.
We need it.
Okay, so then let's say we put into the atmosphere that you are elected.
I will be elected.
You will be elected. At the end of that first term, what will people remember you for?
Being the voice that they never had. Being a senator that is seen in the community. Being a senator that no one regrets giving a chance. And to those that might decide differently, regret that they didn't give me a chance. And I see better numbers in my second term.
Yeah. Mr. Carrion, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having this conversation with you. I'm going to allow you to tell the people of St. Croix why you.
Well, Mr. Grant, thank you and your organization for inviting me to this forum. As I said before, it's one of the best set up forums that I've attended. And I ain't knocking everybody else. I've been to 5 so far. I got 3 more to go. But like I said before, I hope that they use what has happened here today and throughout the weekend as an example to do the rest of them. I want to leave the people with 3 simple questions. And if any of those questions is answered with the word no, then I should be given a chance. Are you satisfied with our healthcare system? Do you feel comfortable taking one of your loved ones to the Juan Francisco Luis facilities for medical treatment? Are you satisfied with the educational system? Do you feel comfortable sending your children to school every morning to these facilities that are ill? They're sick with mold, creating havoc in our society. Are you comfortable with what the law enforcement community is doing for us to ensure that our safety and our well-being is kept? Again, if your answer is no, if your answer is yes, then continue with what you have. Obviously, in your mind, things are well. But if your answer is no, I think the time has come to change the status quo. I think we need people with vision. I think we need people with compassion and people that really honestly have a love for the people at the Virgin Islands, particularly those in St. Croix that have been left behind. My name is Leonardo Carrion Sr., and I humbly ask you for your support this November and throughout the early voting that's taking place now. Number 17 on your ballot. God bless us and the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Carrion.
Thank you, Mr. Grant.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. This has been another episode of Just for the Record.
I vote.
I vote.
I vote.
I vote. I vote. I vote. I vote.
I vote.
I vote.
I vote.
I vote.
I vote.
I vote.
Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Epsilon Iota Sigma Chapter,
and Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, New Chi Zeta Chapter, encourages you to participate in the process of democracy by voting.
As a citizen, your vote is your voice. You get to select the type of leader that reflects and represents your ideas and your interests.
You get the opportunity to choose your advocate.
This election, do not get left behind.
Do the right thing and vote.